Alexander Titov, and he's a Russia affairs analyst and also a lecturer at Queen's University in Belfast. He joins us now live from Belfast in the UK. Welcome to the programme. Was Russia, as President Zelenskyy said, trying to humiliate the UN with the attacks on Kiev during his visit?
Well, it certainly would appear that way, although I'm not sure the degree of intent there. It's certainly possible, but it's also equally possible that just the military operates in its own schedule and strikes targets across Ukraine whenever it feels necessary. So it certainly looks like it. The degree of intent, perhaps yes, perhaps no.
And the UN chief, he also admitted this, and it's quite a loaded sentence. He said, "Let me be very clear, the Security Council failed to do everything in its power to prevent and also end this war." What do you make of that bold comment?
Well, when the main instigator and driver of this conflict is the permanent member of the Security Council, I mean, I wouldn't have much hopes for a Security Council to play any role in it. So Russia is one of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council. Anything which it doesn't approve, it can block, it can veto. Since it's started the invasion itself, it's the United Nations is a sideline. I can see why the Secretary General would be frustrated, but that's basically is the DNA of United Nations as they've been formed in 1945 by the 5 victors in the Second World War who have carved out for themselves this privileged role in the Security Council, and that remains the basic structure of it, and there's nothing can be done about it.
Do you feel there's a sort of hopelessness now, given the fact that the UN chief was there? He also discussed with President Putin humanitarian corridors with the International Red Cross and Red Crescent. A day later, still no humanitarian corridors open there in Mariupol with 3,000 people stuck.
Well, the situation with Mariupol is a very complex one in a sense that it's extremely sensitive political issue both for Ukrainian leadership and for the Russian leadership. I think it's very important for Ukrainian leadership to do something to save not just the civilians but also the military men who are trapped in Azovstal complex. And I would imagine they hoping to use the situation with the civilians also to alleviate the situation on the military, particularly. So far as I've been seeing reports, they also would want to include the injured and the military to have them safe passage towards Ukraine, a third country, which Russia is refusing, saying that they should just surrender. All the military personnel should surrender and forget about being evacuated or extracted anywhere else. So I think there is a stumbling block there. Very difficult situation. Again, the time is not on the side of the besieged forces.
No.
So,
and we've just heard that they have food for 1 week left. That's what we've just heard from our correspondent. Alexander, I want to ask you about what President Biden asked for yesterday: extra aid to Ukraine. That is, if Congress approves it, and that would mean arming Ukraine even more. So where does that now possibly leave a negotiated end to this war and peace talks?
Well, it does look like there's any hopes of any negotiated end to this conflict being abandoned by Washington and West more generally, since they kind of looking for a long-term building up of Ukraine army with Western NATO weapons. That would have to involve training. That takes months to do, supplies of it. So basically we're seeing for hope for a longer term support, military support, but also it looks like, certainly by the pronouncements from particularly London and Washington, that they would prefer outright military victory of Ukraine. Other point, of course, there's talk about seizing and confiscating all the Russian assets which have been frozen. So one thing is freezing Russian central bank assets, for example, and oligarchs. The other one is actually confiscating them. So once you confiscate them, there is no kind of going back. you don't have that kind of carrot to give to Russia in terms of as an incentive to seek a negotiated settlement. So I think with both of these things, provision of massive military aid, which will take months and months to arrive, to be effective, and kind of burning all the bridges in terms of seized Russian assets in the West, does indicate to me at least that any hopes for a negotiated settlement is no longer an option so far as the most policymakers in the West are concerned.
That's an important note to end on. Thank you very much indeed, Alexander Titov.